At Direct Service Garage Doors, we are your one-stop shop for all things garage door. From garage door repair and broken spring replacement to new garage doors and openers, we do it all. We're proud to be among the highest-rated local garage door companies in all of Central Arkansas. Our highly trained technicians are available 24 hours a day at no extra cost to you. So if you have an emergency, call us today, 501-244-3667, or visit our website at directserviceoverhead.com. Don't wait days. We'll fix it now.
All right, everybody, happy Friday. We made it through another tough week. Another tough week, but we did it. We did it together. Congratulations. Let's do this. Let's get this special live underway. This is a big one. We got a pretty cool announcement. I'm going to share that with you here in just a minute, but let's kick this thing off. 3, 2, 1. Yo, what's going on, Arkansas Razorback fans? How you doing? Yeah, a little windy out there. If you're in Northwest Arkansas, some bad weather on the way. By the way, I think it's a heads up to maybe Northeast Arkansas. South going up towards Northeast Arkansas, maybe up towards like Jonesboro and Piggott. You guys be careful out there. I don't know what NWA looks like today, but I know it's awfully windy. So, all right. Patreon supporters, we got to hang on. I don't know if you're watching this. If you're not a Patreon supporter, I'm currently at 50 people. That doesn't mean that those 50 people are going to stay signed up, right? So for this month, we could really be at like 45. I just don't know it yet. But the number says to me right now we have 50 people. If you want to make sure Ty – we've got a couple of milestones. We've already hit one, which is what we're going to talk about here in just a second. I'd love to break that 50 Patreon supporter threshold. So you know what to do. Check out the link provided for you down below in the Patreon link that's there. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. Yo, Ty, congrats on the 50 members. We don't know yet. It's not 50 yet. It technically, I don't know when your last day is to sign up where it counts for this month. I know I get the statement, right, the amount of people on the 6th, and that's when I update the Patreon list. So if you want to make sure Ty crosses that threshold, that line, then go sign up. I would love to break that. It's just $4 a month. Good gosh. I mean, we've got at least 2, 3 pretty cool little interviews where only you guys have access. Patreon supporters have access. All right. We got some big news yesterday, which was huge. This happened right as I was on my way to practice, actually. We're also going to talk about that as well. Shout out to Direct Service Overhead, the garage door company. They offer same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes, hundreds of 5-star reviews, better than best results. Give them a call today at 501-244-3667. Again, that's Direct Service Overhead, the garage door company. And, of course, the Apex Tattoo Studio that are offering tap-out sessions. Go as long as you can until you tap out. 10% off if you mention Tuss Talk with Ty. Walk-ins are welcome. We've got some new art on their page, by the way. Pretty cool. Looks like this Crusader with he's leaning on his sword. Looks like he's missing an arm. It's pretty cool. It's pretty badass, actually. So there is some new art on the page. They are located in 201 South 19th Street, Suite P in Rogers, Arkansas. That's the Apex Tattoo Studio. 479-278-2694 if you want to get some art or ink done. Same thing. KJ seems to be happy with the hire of Enos. Ty, help him out here. Uh-oh. We got people jumping off the cliff here about the Enos stuff still. Guys, he's the offensive coordinator. I don't know what to tell you. He's the offensive coordinator. You cannot like it, but I can tell you I do think the players are digging it. Good Lord. Hang on. This chair. There we go. All right. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that cool stuff. What should our poll be? We need a odd soul poll. What's our poll? We could do the is Nick Smith going to drop out of the lottery? We could do that, but I don't see it happening. But that is something we're going to discuss. So let's just do it. Does Nick Smith Jr. drop out of lottery pick in NBA draft? There. I'll just, there you go. That's our odd soul poll. Celtics for Life says Enos was a great hire. People going crazy over nothing. Yeah. All right. I want to show you guys something. We did have, so speaking of the Nick Smith, so we're dropping the poll. We're going to go ahead and do the poll. Nick Smith, we're going to call this the Nick Smith mock draft discussion. Now, we know he's already declared, but just a heads up for anyone who's curious about the deadline to declare, that is April 13th. NBC Sports, now, unless I looked at the wrong date, I believe this was their most recent mock draft. They do like him. They've got him in the top 10. NBC Sports has him in the top 10. USA Today has him at 12th, right there at the back end, right? They have him at 12th. I said I still feel like he's a lottery pick. I did say, what was that, last week? I felt like he'd probably slide. I mean, most of the year before his injury, or at least even during his injury, a lot of these mock draft sites, people that talked about the mock draft or doing a mock draft, talking about the large corporate folks, they still liked him in the top 5, top 6. And as the season went on, he did kind of drop. My concern is the knee, and that isn't something I'd considered enough of. I do wonder if the knee is something that these scouts, the front offices, the GMs, what input coaches get. It does make me wonder if they're a little bit more, especially after he had to miss a day of practice before the Illinois game. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was the report, that he had to miss a day of practice. That's concerning to me. I don't think, from a potential standpoint, everything that you read about Nick Smith is that, he's a mock draft. I mean, he's lengthy. He's a 3-level scorer, despite the fact not scoring well outside. I was kind of hoping he would find that part of his game during the regular season for Arkansas, and unfortunately he didn't. Not consistently. Not saying he didn't knock down the 3 ball. He did, just not consistently enough. Not enough to make you think, okay, no, he's all right, there you go. Now he's knocking down 3 of 4 outside, or 3 of 5 outside a game since his return. You would feel like he would have a leg to stand on with something, and unfortunately he didn't. Now, he had a couple of nice mid-range jump shots. Think he had more than just a couple of fadeaway jumps. He's got a nice, contested or not, he's got a nice jump shot. You see how he could finish at the rim, how he can handle the most athletic defender that's trying to man him up. He can drive the lane. We saw a little bit of that before the knee injury. I do wonder again, does the knee injury, what was reported was that it creeped back up, and he was having some issues. We know Anthony Black was dealing with an ankle issue. Now, that's not fair. You can't compare injuries. That's not fair. You're not supposed to do that. But he did play through it. Nick Smith may have lost some minutes. Apparently, he didn't practice. I think that, again, if I seem to remember reading that, he and hearing it actually, that he had missed either some time or missed an entire day of practice. I think maybe Musselman had talked about it. That all seems like a dream, doesn't it? The NCAA tournament. It just kind of, some of it, you're like, did I dream that? Did that happen? Is that what he said? That does give me pause for concern. That's not something I'd considered enough of when we were talking about where he goes. I was pretty adamant that, look, he's going to be a lottery pick. I think if he was fully healthy, hadn't missed any time, hadn't missed a long period of time away from the team, I do think we would have seen that. I think we would have seen him what I mean is, I don't know that we'd be having this discussion about whether or not he's a lottery pick. I still think he's a lottery pick because his potential, which is how the NBA draft works. Those of us who keep up with the NBA, who watch the NBA, who watch the games, I'm hearing a lot of people tell me I don't like the NBA, but here's what, I don't think he's going, blah, 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 because his season was so bad. Again, there's so many variables to the Nick Smith adventure or journey at Arkansas. You have to factor in the injury. You have to factor in the knee. You have to factor in the amount of time missed. You have to factor in that maybe there was some chemistry things going on when he came back, or a lack of chemistry when he came back. This is all stuff the NBA, for better or for worse, for Nick Smith, for better or for worse, they're going to consider. Well, they really couldn't find a vibe with him on the floor. That might have a negative impact on him. It absolutely could. But his potential as a 3-level scorer, as a guy that could put on a show, that's got a nice fadeaway, that's supposed to be able to knock down the three ball, that's supposed to be a guy that could finish at the rim, supposed to be a guy very difficult to defend, supposed to be a guy that could develop into a two-way player in the NBA. That stuff matters. And I think some of you do not consider this. You only look at what he did at Arkansas, and I'm telling you, that's just not the way the NBA works. That's not the way these general managers, the front offices, this isn't the NFL. The NFL, that's a different story. KJ Jefferson, for example. I don't know if that's a fair equivalent because KJ's not looked at as a first-round prospect, but KJ didn't really take a huge leap forward this last year. I think he was about the same, and that was without Treylon Burks, which speaks for itself. Kind of had a makeshift group of wide receivers, guys that underperformed. When you look at Hazelwood, probably didn't have the career that he wanted at Oklahoma. Landers, who maybe overachieved and came in and had great production. That 40, I'm telling you, man, he made some money with that 40. But KJ, I don't think he took that huge leap forward that he wanted, and I think that's a big reason why he's coming back. The NBA just doesn't work that way, or college basketball just doesn't work that way. Now, if he took and we're also comparing 12 games to how many games do they play in college basketball, right? It's not even a fair sample size. But, again, the NBA is going to grade a player based off their potential. And I'm not saying they're not going to look at film and not look at any of that. No, of course they are. They're going to find out what the chemistry was like. They're going to find out. They're going to look at that film when he came back. Remember when he came back, and they're going to see, oh, well, he's got the potential, but then he fell off the planet. Then he lost minutes. Then his knee issue came back up. Saying all that to say, I don't know anymore. I say I don't know. I feel like he's still a lottery pick. I just feel less confident because I wonder if the knee thing doesn't slow them down a little bit. That it creeped back up. The knee injury creeped back up a little bit. I don't know. But then again, it's just, I guess it's a matter of how long will it affect his career. AB is projected number 8 on ESPN. Yeah, Anthony Black has actually moved up in a couple of places. I think NBC Sports had Anthony Black. I think it was NBC Sports who had AB in front of Nick Smith. In some ways, the NFL does, because Anthony Richardson is probably going to go in top 5, but that's just because Josh Allen happened. I would be shocked if AB came back. Anthony Black's not coming back. Where are we at on the odds soul poll? Does Nick Smith drop out of the lottery pick? 58% of you at the moment say no. 58% of you say no, he does not. Michael Harris, AB will leave I'm sure he bumped his stock up. I don't know. I mean, all year he's been considered a lottery pick. I mean, a 6'7" point guard who can drive the lane. He just never. What would have helped him, and why I believe someone like that would greatly. Well, I don't know about greatly, because he's still a lottery pick, but could boost his numbers up a few spots is if he developed an outside shooting game. That's something that would have helped him a lot. He didn't have an outside. He wasn't really an outside guy. Yeah, he could knock down some teardrops, right? He could knock down some teardrops. He made some kind of bullshit shots, sure. Yo, Ty, glad Trev is back. Yeah, we're going to talk about that too. That is huge. Will Walsh come back for another season? Oh, I don't think that's even up for debate. I think Walsh is coming back. No, I don't think that's a poll. I think we all agree. He's coming back. If AB develops a consistent jumper, watch out. Yeah, if he can develop an outside presence, a more consistent outside presence, if he could develop a 3-ball, imagine him being able to knock down the outside, right? Imagine him as a point guard who's not afraid to drive the lane. I don't know what from a scoring perspective, I guess it depends on where he goes in the NBA. I don't know what the expectations are going to be from him as far as a scorer goes at the next level. Tornado warning in Hot Springs. Hot damn, says Will Watkins. You guys be careful, please. Do not risk your life watching this show. I'm flattered that some of you might, and this has happened before. It's been a while, but this has happened before where we're doing this in the middle of a storm and people are like, oh, I'm huddled in my bathroom. I'm huddled in my bathroom watching you right now, Ty. You guys be careful, please. Biggest question left is, what is Ricky going to do? That is also a good question. What does Ricky Council do? But to close out the Nick Smith conversation here really quick, NBC Sports has him at 10th. USA Today has him at 12th. The Athletic has him all the way down to 16th. The Athletic has him down, so they don't all agree that Nick Smith Jr. is a lottery pick. So you have some of these places that that don't think, and I think there's one more. There's so many places, so many mock drafts out there, but yeah, there's at least one. And I don't know how much you should take them all with a grain of salt. The one that I routinely checked on throughout, especially last year, was NBC Sports. You guys have probably heard me brag about them the most. I like them the most, and they still believe. And that's not because they have a favorable approach to Nick Smith and where he's going. I have no idea what's going on in my living room right now. Leia! What are you doing? Oh, okay. It's my wife. She just walked in the door. Okay. There for a minute I thought we were getting robbed. Just FYI. I wasn't really sure. Yeah, all right. Yes, don't drive in storms, especially if you can't see. I'm guilty of that. I have absolutely done that. All right, we've got something special here. Really quick, I threw this little 30-second video together. We crossed a big milestone recently on the channel, and I wanted to share that with you guys. Made a really quick 30-second, 35-second video. Enjoy. There you have it. We did it. I told you it was short and sweet. 1 million total views on the channel. 1 million. I can't tell you guys how well we would have hit this a lot sooner. There's no doubt we would have hit this a hell of a lot sooner. right around the time I started the channel. I wasn't really producing a lot of content here. I was doing this in a video game channel. Some of you know, but that's where the name Tyzilla83 came from. I also I helped start up a podcast that definitely kept me away from the channel. And then also we got on a really good after that when we went back solo. We went on a hell of a run. The channel grew even more because I dedicated my time and energy here, and seeing how that was paying off. That's when I thought, okay, I can bring sponsors on board. We can get Patreon going. And which I think we already had a Patreon shortly before that, but then it just started growing. You guys are sharing the content. You've subscribed. You're watching everything you can. You're checking out the shorts that I've been uploading. You're here, and you're here, and it's keeping me here, and I do appreciate you guys. I helped start off Hogville YouTube channel. There are a lot of, and that was, listen, I have a great relationship with those guys. So shout out to Hogville, but I knew coming back here was the right move, and I do think we would have hit this a lot sooner, but I am so happy we finally got here. And again, I've learned a lot over my time doing all this. I still have so much more I want to do and a lot more that I want to achieve on the channel. But 1 million views, man. If you would have told me in the very, very beginning, like, hey, man, you are going to hit 1 million views, it might take you a little bit of time, but I'm glad we finally got here. 2023, we finally got here. I do think, had I stuck to just Pig Trail Network, which obviously would eventually become Tuss Talk, I think we would have hit this a long time ago. But this is a milestone I've had on my mind for a while. So thank you guys so much. Shout out to Patreon supporters. I'm telling you something, when I'm doing this, you put a lot into this, you put a lot of time and energy into this, and you have your moments where you're like, man, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Looking at Patreon supporters, it just makes me feel that much. I don't know. It's like a fresh breath of air, cool air hitting your face. Like, there are people that do support you and do believe in what you're doing. So, and of course I can't do this without direct service overhead, right? My sponsors, Apex Tattoo Studio and the Odd Soul. So they've all you guys combined, and the viewers, whether you're a lurker, long-time viewer, whatever, I'm not here without you guys. So, man, I'm so happy I finally crossed that line. We finally got there. 1 million total views. All right. Let's move on to the next part here. Trevon Brazile is back. Oh, baby. Yeah. Brazile is back. I felt like, and I had this conversation. If you Patreon supporters haven't watched the interview I had with Blake Level, this came up. I said to Blake Level, I feel like, don't get me wrong, all these other players you want out of the portal, you want to keep these guys. You'd love to keep Nick Smith and Anthony Black, but the odds of that are slim to none. But Trevon Brazile has to be prospect number 1 to bring back, because we know what he brings to the floor. We know what he can do for this team. He's a great two-way player. He could be a shot blocker. He could stretch the floor out. He could knock down the 3 ball. He's got it all. And we took from Missouri, who loves to brag on their regular season accomplishments. Congratulations. We go into March with the attitude of, we need to get back in this thing. We wanted a three-peat of the Elite Eight, and fans still weren't satisfied, even though they made the Sweet 16. We know what we're about here now. We're back. Arkansas basketball, for a 20-plus year hiatus, is back, and Brazile was certainly a big piece of that last year. And you've got him back. Trevon Brazile's return is absolutely huge. It is huge. Now, it's not shocking. It's not surprising. When you consider he was looked at as a potential first-round draft prospect at one point early on in the year, you felt pretty good. Like, oh, okay, we're going to have 3 legitimate first-rounders. We may have a couple of lottery picks, and we're going to have Brazile, a big man down low, a big man around the post, a guy that can stretch the floor. We're going to have him. And then the rest is history. He gets banged up, and, Arkansas was forced yet again to kind of change the way they do things. Brazile was huge. Brazile coming back is absolutely huge. And good for this team. We're still waiting on some guys. Someone mentioned Council. I don't know. I don't know what his ceiling is. We saw him disappear at times this year. Even before Nick Smith came back, we kind of saw him where Devo was your guy. Devo was either your leading scorer or the guy that had the biggest impact on the floor, and Ricky Council kind of disappear. But we also got a glimpse of what Ricky Council can do in March. Even during the regular season, he was your leading scorer. I'm not trying to throw any salt at the guy. I mean, Ricky Council is a special player. When he has an A game, it just makes everyone around him. And I mean, look, you got 5 guys on the floor. You know, of course, one guy brings his A game. It's going to have an impact on the floor for your team, you know, in a positive direction. But he certainly seemed like when he could get things moving, when he was a willing passer, when he was, you know, willing to pass up the look to maybe hit Devo on an outside 3. He has it in him to be a complete, I don't know about a two-way player. I don't know. His defense isn't bad, but it's not something, but maybe that's something he could work on and come back. Of course, I think he would benefit greatly returning. But we saw him at times take things over. I would love to have him back. I would love to have Ricky Council back. We'll see what happens there. I think that would be a big get to get him to come back. At the same time, are there some other options in the portal where maybe you could actually upgrade from Ricky Council? You know, I'll let you guys debate that. But I certainly believe it would be huge if you got him back too, though. If he does leave, you're going to want to replace him with someone that can have a great impact, at least from a scoring standpoint. Cry. What you talking about? I ain't gonna cry. I'm excited over the 1 million total views, but I'm not gonna cry because I'm still not settled. I don't know what my biggest next benchmark is for the channel, but I know that was a big one. Do a conservative talk show, Ty. You'd hit 1 million in 6 months. Who says I would do conservative talk? I don't get political, remember? Let's scroll up here. Tied to a backflip. That ain't happening. Standing up, slow clap, still standing, still clapping. You go. I improve. Thanks, man. TJ or T3 July. Congrats, man. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for the congrats. Alex Henderson. There's an OG right there. CFB with Ash. Some OGs. Michael Kopesky. What's the announcement? I can't read. That explains so much, Kopesky. That explains so much. Bro, you know that doing only Razorback content is pretty slim and niche. To hit that mill, here's to you. You hollerer of hog headlines. I appreciate that, Mike. Yeah, it's not, man. I'm telling you. I've had people convince me I need to move it to SEC. I need to talk all SEC, but I've stuck with doing just hog fans, hog content. What's up, Ty? Congratulations, sir. And only slightly homeless looking. Okay, thank you. Well, I got the cap on today, so Kelly Williams, congrats. Like your show, Woo Pig Suey. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, it was a big deal. Big deal hitting 1 million. Good to see you, Ty. Was pretty excited to see Trevon Brazile come back. Also, if I wasn't conservative, I bet it wouldn't be too far off. Oh, I bet if it wasn't conservative, it wouldn't be too far off. Logic lives in the middle. I will never tell you guys who I vote for, ever. Although some of you probably know, those of you who've seen me go on one of those rants. I'm super proud of you, my guy. Glad to have been here tagging along, brother. I appreciate you, John. All right. We got Brazile coming back. We're still waiting on some guys. We're still waiting on Ricky Council. We're waiting on Anthony Black. We know Anthony Black is probably – I just don't see that happening, him coming back. Let's talk about spring football for a second. I know you guys want to talk a little spring football. I voted for Kanye. did you know I voted for Kanye? He was a write-in. Vote for Kanye. He's a better option, right? John Haas with a $50 super chat. Holy crap. Killing it, my dude. Haas, you're the man. That's a big one. I appreciate that, my guy. Thanks a lot. Don't work too hard today. Are you in your truck just listening? Yeah, that's a large. That ties for the largest super chat I've ever gotten. $50, man. That's great. Appreciate that. I wrote myself on my ballot. Smock Short says, you think Black is coming back? No, I like I said, I don't think so. No. If I did, I misspoke. If I did say that. No, I don't think Black is coming back. Good Lord, I think his potential's through the roof. I mean, come on, 6'7" point guard, drives the lane. He's not afraid to drive the lane. I think he can develop some kind of shot. I don't know what the NBA is going to expect from him. I think they're going to want him to just be a distributor and maybe a scorer. Who knows, man? I mean, he's still, and I don't mean this disrespectfully. He is still a kid, right? Who knows what he develops into? And that's what the NBA is investing in. That's what they're investing in and what he can become. You know, I think he could be a slick scorer at the next level. I do. I don't know how he's going to do it. I don't know if that's going to be an outside game, if he's going to be a mid-range fadeaway guy, if he's just going to maybe D all of the above. I don't know. But no, I don't think he's coming back. If he did, wow, yeah, no, don't see it. We ain't done nothing in 3 days. Just collecting bread. I hear you. We filed our taxes, and I'm scared to death. I'm not going to lie to you. We filed our taxes like 3 weeks ago. I'm scared to death. Ty, which guard do you want the most in the portal right now? Love would be a nice pick. I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, Love would be great. Right out of Vanderbilt. I don't know. Wait. No. I'm sorry. You're right. Love. My bad. AB earned himself some dollars with his tourney performance. I thought you were asking me just who I'd want out of the portal. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. I would take the Arkansan who left us for Oregon, Kel'el Ware. I would take him. I have no problem saying that. You can disagree with me, and that's fine. I would take him. And I know you've got, you could have some options down low around the post, 5 feet in front of the iron. You're going to have some options. But we did see at times bigs just do whatever they wanted. Sheboy, you go into the tournament, how easy it was for those guys to score around the post. And that's why having Brazile back, I hope he puts on some little bit of, hope he gets a little fat during the offseason. Not fat, but puts on some good weight during the offseason, gets a little muscle. One of my issues with him was with him at the time, was that he did, if he was up against a more aggressive 4 or 5, he could get pushed around a little bit. That was something that kind of stood out. I would love for them, though, to go out and grab a 6'10", 6'11", a 7-footer, a guy that they don't have to stretch the floor. Just be the 5. Just be a solid centerpiece. Be a solid 5 on the floor. Get rebounds. There were times when you dominated on the boards, and then there were times when you didn't, and I think that was a concern, especially in the tournament, in that last game that you played. I'd like for them to pick up in the offensive rebounding. They actually did surprisingly well, especially considering how up and down the Mitchell twins were. Walsh is another name we're not talking enough about. Now, I don't know what Walsh plans to do. I know he had said, well, I say that. Earlier in the show, we said we know he's coming back. Realistically, I also say all the time, I don't live in the world of certainty, right? In this day and age with NIL, God only knows if someone's going to come around and offer him some NIL deal. Realistically, I feel like he's coming back, but I don't think we talk enough about how important it is to get someone like Walsh back. Walsh was a glue guy. Walsh was a guy that would fight all the way. I mean, a little aggressive, got into foul trouble pretty quick. Oh, wow, $20 super chat. Congratulations on 1 million Donald Trump voice. I haven't done Trump in a while. I don't know. I know you're saying congratulations. That's in your Donald Trump voice, but thinking about it, I haven't done a Donald Trump, and I haven't done one in a while. Trevon Brazile, he's going to be great. I can't do it. I've lost the touch, you guys. I used to be able to do a pretty good Donald Trump. FIU guard Denver Jones would be a good get. It's just flying blind. I think Walsh comes back. Yeah, and I said that earlier in the show. I think he's coming back. I just don't know that we put enough emphasis. Like, we need him to announce, I am for sure coming back. Maybe not. He already kind of said it, right? He kind of talked about it with the media. Okay, we're finally gonna move on to spring football. I know the portal talk with basketball is all the I know that's where we want to focus on, but I do want to talk about spring football. I do want to mention that there have been some names that Caleb Love is an IU lean. Oh, is he? No, I didn't know that. Devo comes back. I think Devo comes back. Spring football. Moving on to spring football. Doing what I said I was going to do a minute ago. Some names that have kind of stood out. I did go to both practices this week. Someone that has stood out to me really since the beginning, and he may not be someone that's everyone's writing about in their papers and their articles, but I've kept a pretty good eye on him. And that doesn't mean he's going to be a baller. It doesn't mean that next year he's going to be the guy. I'm telling you something, and this isn't going to shock a lot of you. Isaiah Centennia is torching the field. Isaiah Centennia is getting open. It doesn't matter who's covering him. He's beating them. He has looked like every bit like we thought he was going to, the kind of impact we thought he would have. He's looking the part right now in spring camp. Now, has he been making big plays all over the field, catches downfield, touchdowns, 30-yard drops, dime drops from whoever's throwing him the ball downfield? No. It's a lot of quick in and out routes, slants, things like that, right? And I don't know what Enos is going to do as far as line. I think he's going to end up as a slot guy. We also saw them line Tesla up at times at the slot. But Centennia, to me, has been the guy who's made tough grabs. He's had, I think I've seen maybe one drop. Now, again, I kind of pick and choose where I'm at on the field. Sometimes you don't get a great angle. So, they give you the sidelines and the end zone closest to the pavilion, to the indoor facility, the north part of the end zone, right? You get that, and then you get over that side. We can't go to the other side. We can't go to the south side of the field, to the very south side of the end zone. You have to kind of pick and choose. So sometimes I think you will see some reporters say they're seeing different things. I'm seeing Centennia stand out. That's what I'm seeing. He's not making all the big drops. I'm not, and I know someone, there's that purple dog, there's that Ty because he's a former purple dog and he's got to talk up his alumni. That has nothing to do with it. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing on the field. And sadly, some of it's happening when I'm not recording on my phone, right? During fastball, they don't let us always record during fastball. They give you, typically it's like sessions or periods 1 through 4, and they'll let you film. Sometimes it's 1 through 5, sometimes it's 1 through 6. More times than not, it's like 1 through 4 we get to film. And in that time, that's usually just individual workouts. That's tight ends, down in the south end zone, offensive line, opposite side of the field. That's quarterbacks right in front of us, running backs right in front of us, and then further down to the north end zone, defensive line and linebackers. That's really what we get to film. That's why a lot of what you see filmed is during individual position groups, right? And sometimes we do get fastball. I've recorded some fastball. And again, fastball, for anyone who doesn't know, it's basically like a mini scrimmage. It's like a real quick scrimmage. They'll do it in full pads. They never tackle to the ground. You guys asked me that in Discord. They don't tackle to the ground, at least not always. They're not supposed to. And then they'll do it in helmet and, shorts or whatever they're wearing. But Centennia has stood out. Now, not always during fastball. Sometimes it's on the one-on-ones and stuff like that. But I have been impressed with him. Another player that stood out to me has been I liked what I saw. Hang on, I'm trying to pull up my notes here. Give me a second. I have notes here somewhere. Where you at? Scrolling. Oh, my gosh. Andrew Armstrong is another one. And yesterday, Landon Rogers made a grab. It was like a 25 or 30-yard grab touchdown. It was a beautiful catch. Rogers is getting in the mix. Now, again, this doesn't mean anything. Centennia doing all this, he could disappear during fall camp, right? We also have the portal to be wary of. You never know what's going to happen in the portal. And just because you have a strong fall camp doesn't mean anything either, although typically you learn more from fall camp than you do spring camp. But at least the spring camp tells you where they're trying to place these guys, what they're doing, where they're mixing things up. But wide receiver is certainly a spot where I'm trying to keep a better eye on because you've got guys, of course, we know about Tyrone Broden, who was a little dinged up. He should be back. They're going to have a scrimmage on Saturday. It's completely closed off. Pretty sure that's right. They're going to have a scrimmage on Saturday. But Tyrone Broden, Andrew Armstrong, I've been keeping an eye. Like I said, Tesla is another guy that I've been keeping an eye on. Centennia, Bryce Stevens. Tesla has not Tesla seems to me like a guy that came in with a lot of hype. And I'm not saying he's not going to live up to it. I wouldn't say he's even in the top 3 for me of wide receivers that have really stood out. It has been mostly, I think it's been Samuel Bakke has looked pretty good, although he had a couple drops yesterday in practice that I saw. But, some of those they just happen. And it was kind of windy on the field too. So they're not always, sometimes the ball just doesn't go where it's supposed to. I mean, it got windy out there. But Tesla is probably a guy that will be in the mix to start. He could, by the end of spring, be a completely looking player. Who knows when they have that when they have the red-white scrimmage, maybe Tesla will shine. I'm not saying that he won't, just that he's not been the guy. Like, when you looked at him his first week, man, he looked rough. I mean, I'm not even going to lie. He looked a little rough. He looked like a little bit of – he's got some room, and I think a lot of that was – he had a lot of room for improvement. A lot of that was he's trying to – absorb what's happening, right? He's new to all this. This is a different level of college football that he's never played at before. I think he is settling in, and he is getting better. Now, some of the other guys, who was the other one? Bryce Stevens has had, or not Bryce Stevens, sorry, Samuel Bakke I've watched. But Andrew Armstrong is another one. Andrew Armstrong has absolutely stood out. Now, quarterbacks. Criswell is moving up. I think Criswell, and I maybe I said it here or Discord, I don't know. A couple of weeks ago, someone asked me how Criswell was doing, and I said, well, right now, at the moment, he's behind Cade Fortin. Cade Fortin ran primarily with the twos. I think Jacoby Criswell is going to push that. And now that's not going to shock anybody, but I'm going to tell you, throughout spring camp, it's been Cade Fortin at the 2. And it didn't look like there for a couple of weeks anybody was going to pass Cade Fortin up at the 2 spot. Cade Fortin's more familiar with these guys. He knows the players around him. Grant Enos is new to everybody, right? Dan Enos is new to everybody. None of these guys have ever played for Enos. So there's some of that going on, right? Some of these old OGs are trying to get used to what's going on. KJ also, by the way, his ball's gotten a lot sharper. He's throwing really well. KJ, I mean, that doesn't surprise anybody. KJ has played really well, and he's looking sharper and sharper. I was having a conversation with the Hogville photographer, John. Shout out to John. Takes great pictures. Pictorial Nation has used some of his shots. Hogville, of course, uses his shots. But he and I were talking. If there's anybody who keeps a steady eye on certain players because they got to get pictures, and a guy that's a pretty good observer of what's happening in front of him, he said the same thing. He thought KJ's just, throwing a really sharp, good-looking ball. He looks a hell of a lot better. And they all are. This is the natural progression of getting through spring camp. They're all playing better. I would argue right now, if you told me set up the depth chart, at least at quarterback, it would be KJ 1, and then probably Jacoby Criswell 2, Cade Fortin at 3, Singleton at 4. That would probably be my pick right now. But I think Criswell's going to end up taking that spot. Again, a lot of people, no one's going to be surprised by that because Criswell, who's also a little bit older player, right? Not a lot of snaps under his belt, but he is an older player. And it was kind of, we know what he was when he was recruited. I mean, he's from Arkansas. We all know who he was, and we were bummed that he left, but you also understood why at the time during his recruitment. I had a sneaking suspicion he would wind up back in Arkansas, either here or Arkansas State. But I think it's going to be interesting to see where those quarterbacks, what they'll look like when this is all said and done. If Singleton doesn't end up taking over the 3 spot, maybe Singleton could push the 2. There are certainly times this year watching him throw the ball where I thought, if he continues to look like this, Singleton's going to be the 2. Because Criswell maybe but then this week Criswell looked a lot better. They're throwing better. Receivers are running, I think, a little bit better routes. You're seeing a little bit of separation. Now, a guy that I've seen make a couple of plays, but I haven't focused on until yesterday was Luke Haas. Now, I told Patreon members in Patreon chat, I'm going to go watch the tight ends today, and I did. They didn't do a lot of, working on blocking and stuff. But then later in fastball, and I'm pretty sure this was Luke Haas that made this grab. In fact, I'm 99% sure it was Luke Haas. He was wide open. He was wide open. I don't know if it was confusion in the secondary or if he just burned somebody. All I know is I turned my head and there's Luke Haas wide open. And it was, I don't know how much of a gain it was, but it was a pretty significant amount of yards. And apparently he's done that, and I have seen him make some plays here and there, but not enough to where I'm like, oh my God, he's the next, whatever. He's great. What I did see yesterday in that fastball, in that one specific play, he made a great ball or a great catch, but he was wide open. It was uncontested, nobody near him. Probably a breakdown in secondary would be my guess. But he's looked really good. Some other reporters have said he's definitely shining. He's looking really good, and he's probably going to compete. Now, I don't know where we're going to go with the tight ends. My guess is Nathan Bax, Ty Washington will be in the mix. Zach Lee, who's a walk-on. Luke Haas will be in there somewhere. I feel good about tight end, like in terms of what they could become down the road. At the moment, I still think they're going to need – now, we'll see what happens. Cam Ball suffered a high ankle sprain. You guys know this. This was reported. This is out there. He's out for the rest of spring camp. This isn't as bad as the Torrin Carter situation, right? Torrin Carter had to miss the entire year. Cam Ball's going to have to miss the entire spring. Who knows what kind of impact. I think it's a pretty significant loss because there's a lot of practice left, right? It'll come to a close quickly, but there's still a lot of things left for him to do. And this is one of those big times of the year where the most development tends to happen is during spring ball. You get all these practices, more reps, more lifting. Of course, they're going to have plenty of time over the summer to lift. But kind of makes me wonder if maybe now we knew they're going to take 2 interior defensive linemen. I think now that's highlighted now. I don't think they're going to back off that. So that makes me wonder, do they go after tight end still? An older tight end, Sam Pittman had talked about that earlier. I think they still are, but I think their primary concern is going to be going after another interior defensive lineman. I'm not going to get into the offensive line talk because there's so much happening. There's a lot of rotations going on up there. I couldn't even tell you really who stood out. I mean, that's hard to do in spring camp. But we're going to talk about the offensive line, the depth chart after spring camp is over, right? And, of course, listen, the plan is I'm going to be there. We don't have any Discord plans at the moment. You never know. The weather could still mess this up. But right now I plan on being there. And if you're going to this red-white scrimmage, I will be there for those of you who are going. So let's see. I was extremely impressed with KJ's fluidity. Yeah, and the footwork drill. I have that footwork drill video up. That if you haven't watched it, Dan Enos is all about footwork. It seems like every time I hear him, he's trying to help the quarterbacks, trying to coach them in the direction of understanding where their feet are. He's really all about the footwork, and honestly, it's not to say Kendall didn't focus on that because he certainly did. There were practices during fall camp that you saw them working on footwork. I don't know what he did last spring because I wasn't there. But what I'm seeing from Enos, there is definitely a strong. There's something about footwork with him, and I hey, he's the guy when you talk about developing quarterbacks, right? Brody Farrell wants to know, has Centennial stood out? Yeah, I talked about him earlier, Brody. He has. For me, he has. He's torching folks. He's blown by them. It's pretty it almost looks easy. If he continues on this path, and we've interviewed Centennial. We've had him on the show. He'll return punts. By the way, they've had him returning punts during just working on punt return drills. He's been in the punt return. He is a do-it-all kind of receiver. I've seen him. I think I've only seen him line up at slot. Maybe he's lined up outside a couple times and I missed it, but he could be an issue for guys. But we got a long ways to go, right? We still got to get through the rest of spring camp. We got to get through the summer, and then we'll see where he's at. I can't wait for fall ball. I can't wait for fall camp. Have you smelled any burnt toast at practice? The corners are playing pretty well. They're playing pretty tight on these guys. A lot of balls are contested. Now, I think some of that might be by design. Now, in fastball, I very rarely, like I said, that Luke Haas open grab, that's happened a couple times, but it's not like every play someone's wide open. The DBs seem to be there's more contested throws. There's more contested receptions. Burnt toast. I'm telling you, that's our next, that's the next show I'm going to work on. I'm going to help someone build it. Hell, I've already helped build 2 others. Why not a third? Burnt Toast Podcast. I love that you guys remember that. I don't think anyone passes up KJ. No, that ain't happening. No. Who said that? Did I say that? Did someone say someone's going to pass up KJ? No way. He only eats odd soul, Tanya. I hope you're in the mood for pie if you feed him. Wait, hold up. Is Tanya offering to feed me? Next time you're in town, let me know, and we can go get lunch on me. Hold up, Tanya. Where are you at? I don't pass up free food. The big guy doesn't pass up free food. Tanya, if you're still in here, where are you at? What do you mean next time I'm in town? You talking about Fayetteville? I'll be there Tuesday, Tanya. If you're going to feed me, I ain't passing that up. Dirty hogs. How's the tackles looking? How do you pronounce your name? Yawahan Banshar Yawada. Sounds like if I could say that well, that would be a really cool name. Are you talking about the defensive tackles? I mean, again, it's hard to say. They're not tackling to the ground. Although there has been on X. I don't think so, actually. I think they've all stood the running backs up. Again, those are always tough because they're not going 100 full speed, meaning they are when they're full padded, which I think we've only seen once, maybe twice, but they're not tackling to the ground. So it's tough to say, right? Cam Ball had, I think his first week of practice, he looked really good, really explosive. Hearing receivers balling out at camp, giving me PTSD from last year, not going to lie. Oh, talking about the secondary. Yeah, again, it's mostly just one-on-one drills. You have to take it with a grain of salt, right? We're not going to know a damn thing, really, about how improved the secondary is because I know what you're talking about. I hear you, Ash. I hear you. We're not going to know a damn thing until we're a couple of games into the season. About maybe more than that. Maybe a few games into the season, just how improved they are. I think they probably still have a little ways to go. I'll tell you, the coaching, it's different. The way they coach the secondary, it's different. I'm seeing coaches pull guys aside. Again, I'm not saying they didn't do this last year, but it seems like if there's ever a mistake, I'm not seeing as much screaming at a player. And again, not that happened a lot either, but I'm seeing Woodson carry a guy over to the sidelines and make sure that he understands what he was supposed to do. I like the way these guys are coaching in the secondary, but again, that's not a reflection. That doesn't mean they're going to be Although it'd be hard to be much worse, right? But, no, you were just talking about the 2 and 3 spot at quarterback, and that came to mind. Oh, okay. Yeah, ain't nobody passing up KJ. I mean, even early on when all the quarterbacks looked a little rough, I mean, there was never any doubt KJ's still the best guy out on the field. But yeah. Oh, yeah, in Fayetteville. Yeah, Tanya, I'm there Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yeah, I'll be there Tuesday, but my schedule's always crazy because they have practice at 4 p.m. for the media. They get out there a little earlier. I think they get out there at 3:45. Media isn't allowed in till 4 or after. So immediately before, I'm going to tell you my schedule. It is what it is. Immediately before that, I've got to pick my kids up, right? So as soon as I get home, I drop the kids off, and then I haul ass to Fayetteville. And then after that, hey, look, Tanya, you want to go get some dinner? I'll make sure I clear it up with the wife. Hey, there's a lady that wants to take me out to dinner. Don't feel threatened. She'd be cool with it. There's no way we can be worse. I'm telling you. Yeah, there is no way. They were horrible last year. T. Will looks energized out there. I think they all look as expected. I don't know. I think it was you, Paul, that asked me about energy in Discord and Patreon. I mean, they look like they did in fall camp. I don't know. Like, yeah, the closer the season got, right, they got more excited. So maybe that's the wrong analogy or the wrong comparison. The closer they got to regular season coming out of fall camp, getting into that Cincinnati prep week, yeah, the energy there is different, right? But in terms of just where they're at as a casual spring practice, I think there's plenty of energy. Got to keep in mind, too, they don't let the media see it all, right? So, and I do not consider myself a member of media. So I am a commentator. That's what I see myself as. I'm just a commentator. So do not get me mixed up with media. Those guys that write those articles, in my opinion, they're on a different level, on a higher level. I'm just a fat mouth who's going to tell you what I see. They're better at articulating it, I think, and putting pen to paper, and they're great at what they do. Andrew Hutchinson, Trey Biddy, who else you got out there? Otis Kirk, of course, all those guys. All of them. Well, I'm a guy. You're a guy? Tanya Henry? Okay. My bad. I thought you were a lady. I'm sorry. So I don't think your wife has anything to worry about. Oh, no. My bad, dude. On that note, we're going to wrap it up. I do appreciate you guys. Remember to like, share, subscribe. I got to turn the fan on. I'm going to turn beet red here in a minute. 1 million views. Couldn't have done it without you guys. Couldn't have done it without Patreon supporters, without even the lurkers, the casuals, the hardcore, and, of course, the sponsors. Direct Service Overhead, Apex Tattoo Studio, and the Odd Soul. So, yeah, we'll be back at this next week. Again, the times are kind of all over the place. They're just whenever I'm able to go live. I'm trying to stick with the Monday show. Again, next week might be a little bit different, and it may not. I don't know. Does the offense look pretty comfortable with the new stuff Enos is bringing in? I'm sure he's not tossing a ton at them. Well, and they're also not showing us everything, right? They are a lot of pistol. We're not a lot. We're seeing probably 20% of snaps in fastball taken under the center. That's a little different, right? They didn't do that a lot last year. They didn't do that much at all last year. It's a little bit different pacing. They'll go fast and then they'll kind of slow things down. It's a mixed bowl is what it is. That offense is going to be a little bit different. Again, we don't even know what the hell it's going to look like come fall. We have no idea. Once they strap on the pads for real and take on whoever, My God, who's the first game? It's in Little Rock, but who is it? I forget. I haven't even looked at their first opponent. But we're not going to know anything until it's go time, right? Until what that offense is going to look like. They do look more and more comfortable. I will say that. Yes, they do. Ty, you turned the new shade of our uniforms. All right. Again, I appreciate you guys. Congratulations to everyone. 1 million views. That's awesome. Woo pig. For those of you who missed the video, I'll play it again for you. I'll see you guys next week. Go Hogs.